This lecture is being filmed for the people who can't be here. And I thought to start to kind of speak about Michael Chekhov and situate him in a way in this whole kind of modern theater scene that we have. So Michael Chekhov was the nephew of Anton Chekhov. And early on, he and people around noticed that he was an actor. And at that time, the Moscow Art Theater was there, and it became a big influence for acting training all over the world. But it was basically a theater. So it was the Moscow Art Theater. So they were going to make art. And it was a time where theater was quite a presence in the culture, in Russian culture, but also in America and other European countries. So the Moscow Art Theater was this group of artists that were around at a time. And we know still some of them because their names have been passed down to us. And also there was a time when they traveled and toured also the US and performed here on Broadway. As a side note, Michael Chekhov gave a lecture at the New School because I found a poster that says so, and I have a picture of it. I can show you later. And it was on 66th West 12th Street, and the building that still exists, the stage that's still there. And it says on the poster, Michael Chekhov, only lecture in America, and it was like $1 or something. So he basically came to the Moscow Art Theater. So there were several artists. One was Stanislavsky, one was Meyerhold. I don't know if you heard of Meyerhold. One was Vakhtangov. I don't know if you heard of him. There was also another director whose name was Tairov. And then there was Michael Chekhov. And Stanislavsky became very interested in truth in the theater. And you go, what is the measurement for truth? And Stanislavsky, one could say, that is the story I'm telling, in my understanding, looked at life to find truth. And so, but how are people actually behaving? What are people actually doing? And he made up these little exercises for himself that he would watch in a cafe other people, and he would try to guess what they were talking about. He would try to guess what their relationship was. And then late afterwards, he would go to them and just go, forgive me, what was it you were talking about? And in that way, he was trying to kind of go into the human condition in a search for something meaningful that would be true and that would be worth to put on a stage. But he looked at life. So that led to this completely different style of acting. And the story goes that when they did The Seagull, which was Michael Chekhov's uncle's play, and they performed it at the Moscow Art Theater, afterwards there was like dead silence. And they had performed for the first time in this new way, where it was like, what does this person want from that person? And what does that mean? And what are the, And so the story goes, there was dead silence, and then the actors thought, they hate it, we close this place. And then it just erupted, and it was just this celebration that there was something new that had happened in the theater. So that, in a way, time was the time of the Moscow Art Theater, and there were these people. And the people that were there had very, very different aesthetics. So Vakhtangov, for instance, he was also looking for truth, and he was a director and an actor, but he was looking for something, that he called fantastical realism. So he was looking, in a way, the truth, but also this, also the bigness, the kind of the theatrical truth, in a way. So truth in relationship to the art form theater. And then there was Meyerhold, and he kind of, the story goes, he had this kind of darker nature, and he would just kind of get rid of scenery, and it was just brick walls, and then pieces of sets there, and it was about, something quite dark of the human nature. And then Tairov, the story goes, he was primarily interested in beauty. So everything would be beautiful, superficially beautiful, but he was in a way in love with beauty. And so what's interesting to me in this is that all these people were together in this time. And now when we look at the past, we go, oh, you know, this person was like this person was like this. But it's kind of like friends being together. And one person kind of influences the other person. And you don't quite know how things move and who gets what from what. And there are also some stories about Michael Chekhov. For instance, Stanislavsky was developing his system. And so he made up these exercises. And so one thing he worked with was like with the actors, you know, like remember an event in your life, like that. So Michael Chekhov was working with, you know, the death of his father and was speaking and crying, and everybody in the room was crying. And, you know, Stanislavsky went, yes, you know, and this is the way, and, you know, I can really think. And then he found out that Michael Chekhov's father hadn't died. And then Michael Chekhov got temporarily kicked out of school for an overactive imagination. So it was like a conversation, basically, that continued while they were together at the Moscow Art Theater. And then what happened was the Russian Revolution. And Michael Chekhov, as he writes into The Actor, if you are interested, it is an amazing book. Towards the end, he writes about the intangibles, and he's speaking about that what is visible and tangible in life is just really a small portion. And what is intangible, what in the realm of what is meaningful, that needs to be in our work, that needs to be what we are working with. One way is the imagination, something that's there and it isn't there. And yet the world of imagination influences us all the time, because it's like, I'm not going to make it in time to the subway. I'm going to be late. They're going to be mad. I'm going to fail this thing, or they're going to hate this. You know, it's all our imagination. So that field of our experience that we partake in, he saw that as the field of the theater, so that what appears in the theater temporarily in that moment, like in a conversation, you can't really catch. It's kind of happening right now. You know, you are looking at me, and I go into my imagination in which these stories live. And as I go there, you go into your imagination. And we see images together. And they hold meaning for me, and they hold a specific, particular meaning for you. You might dwell on some of them might lift you, some of them might just float by like ice on the Hudson River, you know. And that this world would be the world of theater. What Stanislavsky was searching for was a technique for the theater. Every painter, every musician, there's some kind of technique people are using. So Stanislavsky felt this importance to formulate a technique. And so he wrote volumes, you know, the actor's work on himself, the actor's work on the part, the method of physical action. Like in a way, he carved out things, objective, given circumstances, subtext. You know, it's like, there's like the jungle, and he would go, this is an objective, and this is a given circumstance. And also something that Patsy Rodenberg now works with, or like has become a vocabulary, you know, the circle. He worked with something, or coined the concept of circle of attention. The actor with himself, the actor with the partner, the actor with the partner with the audience. So he would work with, he would go, what's going on, and give it a name. But because he made the system was like evolving. So Michael Chekhov, in this environment, maybe all of them, were looking for technique. So he was looking for the technique for the actor. And he speaks early on in his book to the actor, where he says, you know, we must find the technique. And so individual actors might say, no, I have my own technique. And he would say, no, it would be more correct to say you have your own interpretation of the technique for the actor. So he was looking for the technique. Now Michael Chekhov works with psychological gesture. He's going, how can I find the psychology of somebody who is in a particular situation that I'm not in, because my situation is I'm standing on a carpet and people are looking at me and I'm a little bit cold because the window is behind me. That's my situation. How am I going to transform? So he goes and makes something up as a concept that he calls a psychological gesture, a gesture which is a physical gesture, but it has a psychology to it because it's a felt gesture. It's not like aerobic, it's not like, it has a felt sense. I'm moving in order to feel. You could try it. You can maybe even just make a fist and look at the world around you from that fist-making place. You might feel slightly altered. You might feel that in this is an event. Can be quite subtle. You can work with opening the hand while looking at somebody, as if showing them the inside of your hand. And then you can look at the same person and just kind of make a fist. And see how inwardly there's like a little, you can see whether inwardly there's a little kind of different flavor. It's like I'm leaving myself and my soul and my feelings completely alone. I'm just doing this thing. I'm just making something that in my body, and then I'm doing, it can be anything. I can move my arms, I can do like this, and then I can do like this, and just notice how different the world looks when I'm looking from this or from this. Yeah, like something inside goes la 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 la, la 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 la. And then I make a fist, and I just look out, like it's just me. I'm not like rushing and going, I'm like terrible. I'm just making my own journey while I speak. So I'm just making a fist, and then I'm just opening my hands and listening. So this is the world of gesture. This brings me to a crucial difference in viewpoint between Stanislavsky and Michael Chekhov. Stanislavsky was looking to place the actor, as it were, at the center of the character. How would I behave, if you wish, in those given circumstances? So the actor would place himself into the magical what if. What if I was, and what if she did this? And that led to many things that people are working with today, which is one of the things called substitutions, where you put another person on top of your scene partner, and all these things kind of come from, in a way, that question. Michael Chekhov, his perspective was exactly, one could say, the opposite. He would say the technique is there so the actor can forget himself. So the actor was looking for something that was bigger than he, so big that he would forget about his inhibitions, about his everyday life. He said the wish for the actor is to transform. The wish is to be not yourself. The wish is to be that other person. And so Stanislavsky goes, no, but it's you in the middle, you. And Chekhov goes, no, it's the character. Let him teach you. So he was looking for ways of interacting with our own imagination. He would begin to ask his imagination questions and would say, well, how would you do it? How would you walk through that door? And then he would watch. And then maybe the imagination brings like a pink elephant. And he goes, no, I didn't mean elephants. I meant if you would go through it, and maybe there's like a cloud that comes, and you go, oh, maybe the cloud means something. So there's one thing in the world of imagination that he called imaginary body or imaginary centers, something he calls qualities of movement, something he calls psychological gesture, as a technique to train the physical instrument the way a musician would train their body in contact with their instrument. Like our artistic nature needs to be, in a way, friends with the physical body. I need to welcome the thing that's strange to me. You could say, in a moment of complete inspiration, we just know what to do. We'll just follow the thing. If there is a little distance between the self and the character, between me and the next moment, that is where technique is in a way needed or helpful. So the exercises that he devised, I feel help two things. And one thing is basically a training, which is if I can listen to things that happen to me, chances are in any, it will help me. Like if I just listen to things that happen to me, it will help me. But then technique also can be applied directly. And how it can be applied depends really on yourself. And Michael Chekhov talks about something he calls the creative individuality. It is a word for our creative individuality. It is not a word for who we are in everyday life. It is a word for creativity. So Michael Chekhov says everybody has his own interpretation of the technique. And when I give it a word, I might recognize it as if it's a friend.